Welcome back to part 2 of chapter 11 for Chem 112. So we left off talking about vaporization and liquids turning to vapor, which leads into vapor pressure. Well, what the heck is vapor pressure? Well, I have a beaker and I have some water in it, and I'm going to cover it, all right? So I covered it, so I put something over it, all right? Well, eventually what happens in that beaker is some of the water on the surface becomes gas, okay? And so there's an evaporation rate. And when the gas hits the cold side of this container, it condenses down. Now, when the rate of the evaporation equals the rate of the condensation, that's called an equilibrium. And when the molecules in this gas state hit the wall and create a gas pressure, that's called vapor pressure. So there's a difference. Are you ready? Okay. When these molecules hit that wall and produce gas pressure inside there, that's vapor pressure, okay? And when the evaporation rate equals the condensation rate, that's an equilibrium, okay? So that's vapor pressure in a nutshell. Well, you can't talk about vapor pressure without talking about the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, which is what I wrote on the left-hand side of the board and what we're going to be kind of playing around with a little bit in our calculation sheet. Now, this is the equation, natural log. This is the symbol for vapor pressure. Delta H we should be familiar with. R is going to be our constant, 8.314. 1 over temperature plus natural log. B is a constant for that particular gas. It's a number I would have to give you, or we would look up on a table, okay? Well, when you look at this right away, some of my super math students may say, well, shucky darn and slap the chickens. That looks like the equation for a line. Remember y equals mx plus b from many, many years ago in math class? You know, that's your equation for the line. So we can plot information on vapor pressure and find all sorts of stuff out. And this is how we're going to do it. Natural log of the pressure, 1 over temperature. And look, the slope becomes this value. Now, we're not going to be old school and put this stuff on graph paper. We are going to play around with this on Google Sheets, and we are going to do this in class, and we're going to do it on our calculation sheet, so you guys can just whip these numbers into this spreadsheet and boom, find the slope, and then do some work for me with that, okay? Now, there is an example that I did put in your notes to get you started. So in class, we'll be putting all of this information. We'll take our Chromebooks out. We'll put all of that information in Google Sheets. And we'll get kind of a line that looks like this. And when we do that, we'll also, the beauty of using a spreadsheet is it does the slope for you. You know, old school when you were learning slope, rise over run, and you pick 2 points. Well, the spreadsheet's going to do all of that for you. That's what makes it so much easier. So when you put this information for this example into your Google spreadsheet and you ask it to tell you the slope for this information, it's going to be that number, okay? Well, if I asked you to find the delta H, okay, I know that slope is equal to the negative delta H over R. If I know that slope is this value, and I want to find delta H, that becomes my X. R is that constant we use for everything. You should be able to solve for X now without any problem. When I solve for X, I ended up with that many joules per mole. Now, that's a lot of joules. That's a lot of zeros. That's why when we talk about delta H, a lot of times we use kilojoules. So what we're going to just train ourselves to do is take that number and divide it by 1,000 to put it in kilojoules. And this is actually kilojoules per mole would be your units. But using Google Sheets to extrapolate that slope for you makes this such a painless process as opposed to graphing, rise over run, all of that good stuff. It's going to be super duper easy. Okay? Now, in your notes, I also put another Clausius-Clapeyron example. I'm going to show you my answer key to that and let you take a peek-see-poo at that. Okay? And we'll talk about that in class a little more. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. Now, the next part of your chapter, because I want to make sure I get through everything for you guys, talks about critical points, supercritical fluids, that kind of stuff. And I will tell you that last year we didn't really discuss this stuff. So we discussed it briefly, but this is, in all intents and purposes, this is kind of new for you guys, some new vocabulary. So supercritical fluid occurs when a liquid and gas state commingle together. They're happy together. It kind of moves like a gas, but it dissolves like a liquid. The critical temperature is when the temperature that the substance becomes a supercritical fluid, and the critical pressure is the pressure where that happens. Your book then proceeds to go on and give you some more vocabulary words. It talks about sublimation. The one vocabulary word, and I know we did it last year, but I feel like we don't do it in middle school, and it is kind of new to us, is deposition, okay? Deposition is the opposite of sublimation. It's when a gas goes to a solid. You know, we all know that sublimation, we think of dry ice, that solid chunk that just goes from a solid to gas. Deposition is the opposite, where you have that gas going straight to a solid. Fusion is a fancy term for melting, solid to liquid. Heat of fusion is how much heat I have to put into something to make it melt, okay? And then I gave you a fusion example. How much energy is released when 65.8 grams of water freezes? And I gave you water's heat of fusion. Okay, I know that I have 65.8 grams of water. This is just going to be a stoichiometry problem, a conversion problem. Because I have brainwashed you, every time you see grams, what do you convert them back to? That's right, moles. So simple grams to moles conversion. Moles always gets 1. Grams gets the molar mass from the periodic table. Now, I'm really looking for kilojoules. Okay, I'm looking for heat. I'm looking for some joules. So not the kind that those girls in the bathroom, not that kind. Heat joules, okay? So I can go from moles to kilojoules using my heat of fusion value that you're given in the problem. So heat of fusion is 344 kilojoules per mole. If seeing that mole empty bothers you, doesn't bother me at all. But if it gives you the heebie-jeebies, put a 1 there. There you go. 1 and done. So all I'm doing is plugging this in. Simple, easy conversion. You guys, that's super easy. Heating curve and cooling curve of water. We did that last year. We did a lot with that. We did calculations with it. We're going to do a calculation now. These calculations can get a little crazy poo, and I did give you a crazy one as an example to do because I figured I'd give you the hardest one I could think of, and then when you got one on a test or quiz, it would be super easy. And you'll have a lot of these on your calculation sheet as well, so don't worry. All right, so when I do a heating curve problem, I am visual, okay? So I, over to the side, draw my heating curve. And I know this is solid, liquid, gas. I know this is melting, and that's boiling, okay? Now I can read the example. How much energy is needed to melt 50 grams of ice at -12? All right, so this is at -12 degrees Celsius to steam. It's going to be a gas at 300 degrees Celsius. Now, there's a couple of things you need to know. You need to know the specific heat of steam is 2.01. You need to know the specific heat of water, which you guys probably know because we've used it so often, is 4.18. You need to know the specific heat of ice is 2.11. You need to know the heat of fusion is 334 joules. And you need to know the heat of vaporization is 2260 joules per gram. There we go. All right, so I would have to give you all of that information. That is not something you should have memorized. I would not give you this little visual to use. I like the visual. It helps me out. Now, you have got to raise the temperature of the ice. You should all know that ice melts at 0 degrees Celsius. You should know that it boils at 100 degrees Celsius. I'm never giving that to you. You should know that. So I've got to raise the temperature of this ice from -12 to 0. So heat ice, -12 to 0 degrees. All right, so I'm just heating it. I'm not changing the state. So Q equals Cm delta T. The specific heat of ice is 2.11. In the problem, the mass of the ice is 50 grams. Change in temperature, 0 minus -12. You have a negative and a negative there. Two negatives become a positive. When you put that in your calculator, that's how many joules of energy I need to raise. I need to raise the temperature of that ice from -12 to 0 degrees. Now I have to melt the ice. When you change state, heat equals mass times delta H. Mass is 50. I'm melting, so it's heat of fusion. So right now, I have 50 grams of water at 0 degrees Celsius. This is where I am, okay? I just melted it. Now I've got to increase the temperature of that water from 0 to 100 degrees. So heat, water, 0 to 100 degrees, all right? I am not changing state. I'm just heating water. So Q equals Cm delta T. Specific heat of water, mass of the water, change in temperature, put it in my calculator. There we go. So right now, I'm here. I have all my water at 100 degrees. I'm ready to boil it. So I'm going to boil my water, okay, because I'm boiling it and I'm changing state. Mass equals 50. Boiling is going to be heat of vaporization. So I multiply those together, and the energy I need to boil it, whoopsie daisy, is that. So right now, I have a gas. I'm at 100 degrees Celsius. I need my gas to be at 300 degrees Celsius. So gas temp from 100 to 300. I'm not changing state. Q equals Cm delta T. The specific heat of steam is 2.01. The mass is 50. The change in temperature is there. So what you are seeing is how much energy it took for each step. If you do that, you're not going to get full credit on your calculation. You have to add all of that energy up, and that would be your final answer. Okay, I know that's a humdinger. I'm not always going to give you ice to steam. I might give you water to steam, but that's the process of doing it, and we did do this last year. The last thing the chapter talks about are phase diagrams. We did touch on those last year. They're just like reading a graph. They're going to be super duper easy for really smart, gifted kids like you guys. Okay? This concludes your second half of Chapter 11 lecture. I hope it was helpful. I can't wait to see you in class. Bye, guys.